So here's my skeptical
Okay.
question.
Okay.
If I can make that work with a quarter, why am I not doing it with a $100 bill?
You should be doing it with $100. Welcome to Unqualified Advice, the show where we try to make sense of business, investing, and life with just enough experience to get ourselves in trouble.
I'm Sean, and he's Dan. We both started completely different careers, Dan in IT, climbing the ranks to Chief Technology Officer in New York, and me in manufacturing, managing production quality across 3 countries.
At some point, we both decided we didn't know enough. So we went back to school for our MBAs. Me at Columbia Business School, and Sean at the University of Houston downtown.
And after all that, we figured the best way to share what we've learned and what we're still figuring out is to start a podcast.
So, if you like deep dives into decision making, business strategy, and the occasional half-baked investing theory,
or just enjoy listening to 2 guys challenge each other's ideas and occasionally admit when we're wrong,
you're in the right place. Welcome to Unqualified Advice.
And boom goes the dynamite. All right.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah, it's a start. You know, we were talking about wanting to work on our branding, Dan, and I took some time here this evening, and I sat down with ChatGPT, and it helped me get that started. And I got a couple of different versions, and that's when I decided that let's give it a roll. Let's see how it plays out.
Cool. Did you use actual ChatGPT, or are you using that as like Kleenex for something else?
No, it was 4.0 to be specific, or 4.0. I guess not 4.0. 4.0.
Yeah, their naming convention is like the single wackiest thing on earth. Have you played with?
It's pretty goofy, I gotta admit.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe there's some science to it, or that maybe they have it name itself. I don't know, but what have you played with 3.7 from Claude?
I have not had the opportunity to. It just came out yesterday, didn't it?
It was the first time I used it was yesterday. I think it might have gotten released 5 days ago, but wasn't on my radar. The hive mind found me yesterday.
You know what? I saw a tweet from I think Joe Weisenthal, who was playing with it, and it was goofing up bad, and he's like, "Well, this isn't right." Or to some effect, I don't know what, but much pithier because he's Joe Weisenthal. I hadn't dabbled with it, but you said it does a significantly better job with coding.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like the 10x engineer that every business wishes they could hire.
So what about it makes you say that? Is that personal experience, stuff you've read?
That's some scuttlebutt on the internet, and also my stuff where I'm like, it's kind of scary. Like, okay, let's go back. You created a to-do file. You created a changelog file, a README file. You spent time architecting knowledge and documenting that plan so that the agent in Cursor, which at the time was 3.5, could start chipping away at the to-do list item by item, right? With 3.7, I would argue that those documents are several-fold more important. And once you have them going, you can just let it rip. It'll just keep going.
No, that's what I've been wanting. That's what I've been thinking as I've been working in it the last couple of weeks. I've said to myself, I'm often just saying, okay, great, please continue, because it's been following my instructions and giving me good output so consistently. Other than when I've gone in and had to debug a couple of files, which is 10% of the time, it's often on almost autopilot where I just want it to take its own next 3 steps that it suggests, because I'm often like, yes, let's do this in this, then this, then this order as you suggested, and executing it that way. So if it's able to do that, then I might actually hit the goal I set for myself on getting something up, because I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to hit my goal. I think maybe I stated it publicly on this. I'm going to miss my timeline.
We recorded it, but we haven't edited or released it yet. So things happen in the editing room, Dan.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my goal was to have something out and in the marketplace, or at least off my let's just pretend for a moment that if it was an iOS app, then I wasn't going to include the Apple approval time. I don't know what those timelines look like, right? But I wanted it off my hands by the end of this month, and we're recording on February 25. So
yeah,
I'm probably not going to hit it. But after playing with maybe 2 or 3 hours today with Cursor and the new version of Sonnet, Claude, I was like, maybe I will.
Well, you know when a more poetic time to launch is anyway, right? The beginning of a quarter. So, I'd say give yourself a little month grace to perfect and plan for that Q2 launch date,
April Fool's Day launch?
Yeah, exactly. Is it a joke app? Like, because that would be perfect, actually. Yeah. Like, what does it do? I don't know. Yeah, you haven't really disclosed, so I don't want to press you on it. But
the app is called My Life. It's a joke.
Yeah, maybe that's.
I am a dad. Give me a break.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I was expecting a better pun, frankly.
Right? Yeah. No, it wasn't there.
No, it wasn't.
There's no there. Anyway, let's move on.
Let's move on. So I was thinking about this. So what do you think of, like, if you're a content creator, using AI to help you write, what can you say you wrote? Like, so that intro, like, I gave it a long prompt that was significantly longer than that and said, use these details. And I actually kind of wrote a little, almost a little, like, it will work for an intro on a website type of thing. But then asked it to parse that out differently and put it into a script format. So how much can I say I can contribute to that, in your opinion? Like, what's your take on that?
You executive produced it.
Okay.
Maybe.
Ooh, I like that. I'm the EP of the content. Yes. So we're going to have a lot more executive producers in the future.
In a way, I would hope. I don't know that that'll be true, but I hope.
Yeah, or maybe they'll just be called content creators rather than writers.
That's true. Creators. We've already been using that word, creators, right? And sometimes it feels kind of loose, but now it's suddenly like, well, maybe there's a good reason for it to be a
maybe
little,
there's a there.
It's like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Well, and I was also thinking, really, if you do that, like, I want to go back and, do some editing on that. And, like, I was thinking about, like, Ernest Hemingway said, first draft of anything is shit. Michael Crichton said, books aren't written, they're rewritten. I think it was E.B. White who said writing is rewriting. So, I think you could even say, if you're using it to help you get a starting point, and then you're going in and editing heavily and recrafting, like, putting the human back into it and taking some of the overly adverbious language that it uses out. I think that I just made up a word there.
I like it though.
Yeah. I don't know. Because
I'm with you.
I think you still have a good amount of ownership in that. Like, I don't think there should be shamed, or I don't think we should shame people that do it, is what I'm saying. And that's, maybe I'm just deflecting because I feel guilty for taking a shortcut. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to get over that feeling.
Yeah.
How many times, like, there are some percentage of us that probably do this without AI. We think that we have to be able to write the entire paper completely by ourselves. But how many academic papers are written by, like, one person?
It's a good point.
Collaboration also, between humans to make it happen.
And, like, think of how many times, like, how many footnotes there are or citations there are included in those, where they're sampling almost, in a way, is what I would call it. They're taking large, quote blocks out of other academic literature to reference in their own work a lot of times. So it's
100%. Or, like, how much of Stoicism is, like, recycled Buddhism and vice versa, or whatever, right? Like, everything's a remix at the end of the day. There's only so many new ideas. And so if AI is a tool, a thought partner on some level that helps you refine things and get them delivered and out the door, I think that's a good thing.
I would by and large absolutely agree with that. I think it's I think there will be a struggle for some people to adopt using these tools, because they're going to have some level of like, wanting to maintain humanity. Like, will that be in a future, dystopian movie? Will there be, like God dang sovereign individual, like some neo-Luddites, I guess, for using the exact term they use because it's perfect, of people that are saying, well, we won't read anything that's not like written by a human. And how can you like verify that something is written by a human or created by a human?
There will be those people, and they have proven themselves because they already exist that they're the kind of people that will get duped. They'll go get on their high horse or their dais and scream about how, they're a purist and they only do XYZ in the ABC manner. And then it'll eventually come out that they didn't, because they couldn't parse between the two different kinds of things anyway. Mm-hmm. Then I say that, but then I'm like, won't there be say like artisan goods or something like that? Like a Brunello Cucinelli sweater handmade in Italy. Like it's already $5,000. Now it's going to be 10.
So now in terms of content though, like, so will there be like a sticker or like a badge you put on your video?
Somebody's going to try it. Yeah.
Made by humans, and like certified made by humans or something like that, and try to create a shame class around it somehow?
Someone will. Yeah.
Let's do it.
And how do you suppose that we create our rubric?
I don't know, but the thing is, I'm already gonna have to go throw a bunch of shit out. That's the problem. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. That's I'm already too far down the rabbit hole, Dan.
I am in an industry that lots of companies pay other companies to be able to put their stickers on their products, like vegan or paleo or whatever. And I'm not saying that there's no worth in these companies, but people would be disappointed to know, one, how lenient some of them are, and then others, how so completely strict they are that it's like, it should come as no surprise that people use generic icons.
As a quality manager who has a reasonable amount of experience with audits by bodies of these sorts, with different titles, yeah, you're 100% right, Dan. Yeah. There is so much variability, and a lot of times they're trying to force bureaucracy into certain things where so all they're doing is creating a system where it's very easy to go and check the boxes on all these things, but it doesn't actually, the spirit of what they're trying to do isn't ever communicated well or translated well through the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when you see certified organic, like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole too.
There's a lot of things that one could say about that, between the actual ecological impact and the amount of what you end up using because of it. But let's not get into that tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, I don't know. Unless you want to.
No, I don't really. I was just going to add that, like, I personally know farmers, and I know some organic ones and some regular, like, monocrop ones, and the tonnage of chemicals used on those crops is approximately 3x on the organic side than it is on the regular side. It takes way more because you can't use certain chemicals. They're banned in organic farming. But in order to like get the crop to the consumer's door, they have to use a crap load more of it.
Yeah, I've
and that's,
read that.
That's not to say that
places.
Like that's not. Yeah, that's not to say.
That's not just Dan's anecdata, is what I'm trying to say. There is backed up scientific proof behind that. It's not just I have 2 people that I know that do it a different way. No, this is you could consistently prove this out.
Yeah. Which then, like, the follow-on question is like, which chemical is the one that is most important to avoid for your health, right?
That's fair. Well, I mean, in any quantity, every chemical is dangerous. Like, I can kill you with water. That's a chemical. Yes. So, but yes, there are absolutely, I think, chemicals that like screw up your genes and stuff that we should avoid. So yeah, I mean, it should be regulated and controlled and safe, but like also I think there's a good amount of malarkey going on in marketing.
Yeah. There is. Going back to MySpace, there's so many more people claiming third-party testing, and it's like, but what? You third-party tested the bottle or the product? What'd you test the product for? There's not a lot of like, I don't know. It shows you how many people are willing to check the label in order to check a box, and then they move on.
Yeah.
Which this gives me another app idea. All right.
Take a second to note that down.
Have you tried the Athletics?
I have never seen those.
Really?
Where are they from?
Good question. I don't know. They're non-alcoholic beer. And they drink like a real beer.
Well, no, they don't. I mean, I know what you mean, like sensory-wise, I guess. But...
That's all I need.
Okay.
Well, I don't need any of it, but...
That's all you want?
That's all I want, especially at the end of a weekday. Yeah. It's just like one or two of those, and I'm like, day is done.
I would assume, being in Colorado, you have a proliferation of THC infused products, beers, coolers, juice boxes. I don't know.
In the children's aisle.
Mommy's nap time juice box.
Yeah, exactly. That's talk about marketing. We got it right there. You know what? I mean, I think there's probably more of it than I see.
You're not looking for it, so
I'm not. I'm not looking for it. But we did go to this like little corner market in Crested last year, and the one cooler that had like all of those kinds of items in it, I was like, wow, there's so many to pick from.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was assuming. That has to be the case there. Like here, we see it here, and it's not legal, and I don't understand what's going on. There are dispensaries that are open. There are bars that are openly selling weed beer. I can't drink them because of where I work, but like they say, like these will make you fail a drug test. That this will. Like it's real.
Up. We're not joking around here.
Yeah, yeah. So I do not understand what is going on here in Texas around our weed laws. It's because they decriminalized it everywhere. So like you can have like,
so then the enforcement goes away.
Yeah, you have some ridiculous amount. Have to have some ridiculous amount before you get more than a fine, I think. So I don't know. I don't know what a ridiculous amount is, actually. I don't know. It sounded ridiculous to me when I heard it, but
not worth going and finding out.
Yeah, so they since they decriminalized it, like there's basically zero enforcement. They just said we're just not caring, and
the other way. Yeah. I mean, why go policing something and making people angry about their interaction with police when there's no there there. There's nothing on the back end that's gonna do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wonder for the businesses how they handle those.
Yeah, as the business owner, I'd be scared flat.
Yeah, like
because I feel like that's who they're going to go after first.
Yeah, exactly. So
if a governor decided something to do things in a different way suddenly, where are they going to go first?
I mean, that's where you would. I would think anybody that filed a Texas tax return with a certain box checked or indicated, that's what they would have, then a database of who to go after, right? So maybe they're just like slowly building a trap for everybody. I'm not sure. That would be.
God, that's dystopian.
Well, I wouldn't put it past Wheels. Say that.
Is that a who?
That's our governor, Greg Abbott.
Abbott, yeah. Oh, Wheels. Oh, man, harsh. I mean, I know the guy's a little bit nuts, but
he's all right. He's not a bad governor. Like I don't want to give him like too much shit because he generally does an okay job, I think, for especially considering the electorate of Texas. I think overall people are happy with him. And even he's
got a couple culture war things up his sleeve that are.
Yeah, there's like a few things where I'm just like, man, if it weren't for that, and that, I'd be all behind this guy.
Yeah,
but those things that are like that, and that, they eat at me. And like some of it's just like blatant hypocrisy on his part. Which is why I kind of don't feel bad at referring to him as Wheels. He He became handicapped when he was jogging in the River Oaks district of Houston. And this massive oak tree, I believe, had a branch that was rotting and fell and landed on him. And then at least how I've read it and heard it told is he ended up suing, the owner of that house, River Oaks, again, like the richest part of Houston, for like $20 million or something like that. And then when he got into the legislature and into I forget if it was before or after he became governor, basically got this legislation passed that capped limits on that type of payout at like a tenth of what he got. And I'm like, well, dude, you got this huge chunk, and now you're saying, well, no, but that's not fair. So I'm going to go ahead and cap the limits on it for everybody else,
but not get the money back.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's like an example of something that like rubs me raw about him. And makes like, it's just like, you are a disingenuous person, and it makes I have a hard time trusting a lot of anything.
The double standards.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough about Texas politics. Sorry,
is Texas going to abolish the property taxes like DeSantis is getting after? In a no income tax state? How does this work?
I think we're smarter than that. Again, like I'm gonna give us some credit. I think we're smarter than that, but I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
You think Abbott likes to balance the books at least a little bit?
Yeah, I do think generally they try to aim for fairly, a level of fiscal responsibility that's appropriate. Since we don't have income tax here, a lot of that does come through property taxes, but there's also like very strict limits on how much those can fluctuate year to year.
Yeah.
Especially for certain age groups. I think if you're a senior, it's like a very tight cap versus I think for me, it's like 10% is the max it can go up in a year. Mine actually went down this year.
Oh, really? Because wow.
Yeah, they reappraised and everything went down a little bit. I don't know if they passed or if they changed like how they appraised, or if like the comps around me don't seem to have changed or gone down at all when I look on Zillow. So I'm not certain what's driving that. I guess I should look that up, but I was just happy, so I didn't. Yeah. If I was mad, if I was mad, I would have looked it up. But
don't fix what ain't broke,
Yeah. Well, the reason it went down is we decided to stop funding schools. Oh, now I'm mad. No.
Yes. Yeah. Rightly so.
Anyway, what's new with you this week, Dan? I don't know if I asked.
This week, I'm solo. Family is all away in California, visiting other parts of the family. And I'm doing exciting things like catching up on all kinds of chores and working extra hours. That's the part of life I'm in. But I'm not. I joke about that. I jest about it. Like I'm like, oh, this is what it's what I've chosen to do with my time. So it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, if it makes you happy and you're fulfilled with it, then that's perfect, right?
Yeah. Well, there's only so many. There's only so many opportunities for us to like get ahead on to do stuff. And or it comes at the cost of me not spending time with kids and wife having to look after kids even more than she already does, which is a lot. So usually I'm just like, well, that's just a chore and it doesn't need to happen this year or whatever. It's like not our season of life. So it's nice to get ahead.
Yeah, it's like, do we really need to Windex the outside of all the windows? Do we?
Exactly. Yeah. It's going to be at every other year for a while.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I think even without kids, that's just part of midlife, and you have busy jobs. Like you prioritize what's important and what actually matters to you.
Yeah, totally. So what's new to you? Anything going on exciting this week?
We are going to be having our third day of our strategy session later this week. I'm looking for our yearly strategy workshop, I should say, at work, which has been going very well. I'm leading it for the first time this year and have been getting positive feedback. So I've been on kind of an ego boost this week with people giving me good feedback on it. So that's been fun.
Do you want to talk about your idea?
Not yet.
Okay.
I actually want to talk about it with somebody at work first.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
To see what I can actually do with it. I sat down and started writing an email about that this morning, and then didn't get back to finishing it.
That's how it goes, man. Yeah.
It is like you sit down and you start on something, and
then it all slips away from you, like it's little
either a meeting or a phone call, and then it's just you've lost control, and you're in the. How many of your hours every day, Dan, are scheduled? And even include like you have dinner time with the kids that are scheduled, right? I mean, but like think about work,
that's extremely scheduled.
I would exclude as a side note. That okay, but like for your work schedule, how many of your hours are like when you show up?
3 to 4, sometimes less.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all.
Yeah, that's on purpose. I got I don't know where it came from, but I got it from Tim Ferriss. Like, make before you manage. And if my day starts off by like I don't know, it's just not as good. I like my mornings to be like less structured and in pursuit of what I want to pursue. And then we all only have like so many good minutes in us. Sometimes that racks up to 4 whole hours or something, but it's really only so much like deep cognitive time that you have. So I just try to like run with it until I hit a wall. And then, I don't know. I try to move almost all my meetings to like Tuesdays and Thursdays. Still working on that, but little things to try to like keep bigger blocks of open space.
If you Pareto rule though, if you get 80% of them on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you've done yourself a blessing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, totally. There's always going to be an edge case where it doesn't work out. Like it has to be that day because that's the day that person's in the office. That's awesome that you're able to do that. I think that sounds. I'm envious.
Yeah. No. I've known the other side of it. So yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So
I like
it
and I try to keep it.
Back in your days in IT, like what was the other side of that like for you?
Completely different. Because I was in a position of service, and there are VIPs. If any of those VIPs needed service, then it did not matter what was going on. It could have been an important meeting. It could have been a phone call. It could have been your baby's getting delivered. Doesn't matter. You are headed in. So there were still like large open slots of unstructured time available. But there was always an onslaught of work to do. So like it was always filled. It was just like, if you get called upon a lot, then this project is going to take 2 months. If you don't get called upon a lot, this project will be done in 1 month. And that's just the way it goes because the VIPs wanted whatever service they wanted it now, and everything else could wait. That just kind of was like the rule. It's weird. No, that's kind of hard to explain, maybe.
No, it makes sense. I was trying to compare and contrast to like the like. So I guess in your roles you wouldn't have to be in meetings all day long. That's nice.
No, we had a morning meeting every day. And so you get in, you prep for that meeting, you get in the meeting, and then you've got maybe another half hour before the market opens, and then everyone's sprinting, and then when market closes, IT would then begin a whole nother set of processes to process the day's trades and a whole bunch of other things and create a bunch of reports that had to go out. So, you wouldn't be done until at least 6. That was a good day.
Damn. And you'd get there at what, 7? 5?
No, I usually got there around 6.
Okay.
So a little standard, after 6. I left my apartment at like 5.
So pretty typical 12-hour days. Damn. Or 12-hour days being pretty typical. That's a intense.
I usually left at 5, and I usually got home at 7:30, 8.
Oof.
I had a long commute, but it was in a train. It wasn't in a car, so I did a lot of reading and advancing of my goals on that train.
Yeah, that's nice that you were able to utilize that time in a meaningful way. That's not an option for a lot of people on their commute outside of a few cities.
Yeah, totally. I was just having this conversation this past weekend. Car commuting is like a completely different game in terms of how much it like seems to stress out your biomechanics.
Even
if you just like go to the right lane and listen to a book, it's still more stressful than just like sitting on a train and having someone punch your card.
This is true. What's helped me a lot with the stress the last several years is the now very usual feature of adaptive cruise control. Because about 70% of my commute is on I-10, and I'm hopping in the toll lane / HOV lane. I'm happy to pay the $1.50 tolls every day because it just reduces the stress. And then also, as things speed up and slow down, you just go with it. So you don't even have to really stress as much. It makes it a lot easier to get into a good audiobook. I'll say that.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Not that you can like totally zone out and just go driverless, but at least you just feel more at ease.
Well, you don't have to be quite as on, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can let your mind wander for a minute, and it's okay. I guess. I don't know. Am I a terrible person for admitting that? I don't know.
No, I would imagine that's what most humans do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone, people are going to be up in arms about the driverless future, but it's coming. It's clearly talking about like stated preferences before, versus revealed preferences. People are really willing to give up. At least the city life driving.
And I think that the newest generation of drivers is not even so interested in driving in a way that they have been in the past. It's
here's my ticket to freedom. I wanted that license when I was like 12.
Exactly. Like I have a niece and a nephew that are late teens. I think one's 21 now, and like it was a long time before they wanted to get a license, or it was because they had to. I think in one case
because the parents were tired of schlepping them around.
Essentially, I mean, yeah, it's wild to me, but I've heard that story from other people anecdotally as well. And I wonder if we could find what kind of stats would you pull up on that? Where would you find that?
I don't know, the age of the first issue driver's license or something.
Yeah, that's probably.
I feel like that's data that Jonathan Haidt has conjured up somewhere. Because I feel like one of his points is kids are getting their driver's license later. It's not that the law changed. People are choosing to wait, which is crazy. I mean, there were people I met in New York City that like did not have a driver's license. Like they had made it to 35 and didn't have never had a driver's license. But in a city like that, if you don't leave, it can work. But that's like the only place in the United States that is like that.
Well, there's also, I wonder how much like rideshare has impacted it, like Uber and Lyft, and the availability of that in places where it used to be, you used to not be able to get a cab very easily in Lafayette, Indiana, but now when you go there, you can get a Uber, no problem at all.
Yeah.
So
it's way easier to be responsible.
Well, I would say responsible, but also just to not have to have a car if you only go out to the.
Who's paying this bill?
I don't know.
I didn't have the money for Ubers. I had the money for like a $700 car, and I know that's different pricing today, but like there was no way I would have been able to afford. Well, I made one Uber a month. It's like, guys, I'm coming over. It's my night.
I mean, I guess I could have, but because I had a job, but I wouldn't have been able to get to the job without a car. So
right.
And probably
they're
Uber would have like neutralized my day's pay almost. I was only working for like 3 or 4 hours a day after school, so it was not extremely lucrative, but it got a little bit of cash in my pocket. But really, then by that logic, I shouldn't have been able to afford a car either. It was because my parents handed one down and like helped with the insurance. So there's a lot of parental support, and maybe parents would rather say, hey, it's a lot cheaper for us to just stick you in an Uber once in a while than pay for a new car and insurance that goes along with it and the da.
Yeah, but then you miss out on all of the personal responsibility. Then they're all just Upper East Side rich kids. In my opinion. You got to wash that thing. You got to take care of it. You need to make sure it continues to run.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying how I think it is.
Yeah. No. I understand that. I'm getting up on my soapbox.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's a good amount of. It's funny, like with that first car that I had. I would go out and wash it in the driveway with by hand, and now it's like, ugh. I pay somebody to do that because I don't. It's not a chore I enjoy.
I'm the opposite. I enjoy it.
Fair enough. I get the sense you like cleaning a little bit, just in general.
How would you pick that up?
I don't know. It's just something about you, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an uncomfortable truth.
Yeah, I can be a hot mess. So it's but my wife is. My wife is much more like you, so my habits have improved over the years, I think.
Yeah. How's the house looking? Your wife is away.
I left a bowl in the sink last night, and that felt pretty liberating.
Naughty boy.
Yeah, so just like Dan, I'm also flying solo this week. My wife is out of town teaching teachers all week, so I am here with in the evenings with just me and the two dogs, which is they're senior and pretty lazy, so it's generally pretty fine. I forget what you asked. What did you ask? How's the house looking? Yeah, no, generally fine. I try to limit the scope of where I go when I'm alone.
Smart.
So that way I'm not even going to go into like those spaces, so I can't unsettle things.
You're like Hansel and Gretel, like leaving a trail somewhere.
Yeah, and then okay, so I'm gonna go to my desk in the office, and then I will go into the kitchen to get some food, and then I'll go back to my desk, and then I will go back to the bedroom, and then I just don't touch the rest of the house, and just only use the restroom at work, and I'm good.
Wow, it makes for use the restroom at work.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Putting in some extra hours this week, Sean.
Yeah, if I didn't have to come home and like take care of the dogs, that might be a practicality.
But
yeah. I do try to.
No, going back to my old house, like I used to grab like a pomegranate juice and 2 hard-boiled eggs at the 7-Eleven that was on the corner on my way to the subway stop, and then that was breakfast, and then they catered lunch, and then I'd get home so late, like I would just like get a bowl of mini wheats or something, at like 6, and then catch the 6:45 train home, and yeah, looking back, it was a nice, simple life. The whole day's food cost me like in Manhattan, because I bought those eggs in Manhattan, would be like $4.
What is it? 2025? Jeez.
I don't even know what the price. They're limiting. How are they limit how many eggs you can buy around here?
Yeah, they do too, but the limit's kind of ridiculous. Like at Costco, you can only buy 2 24-packs of eggs. I'm like, that's 48 eggs. Why is that a problem that you can only buy that?
Yeah.
For most people.
For most people, that's the problem. Like all of a sudden you'd be in the situation where it's like, do you have a family of 7? Do you need to carry a card because you have a family that's bigger than 6 people, and then you're allowed to buy more eggs or something? Yeah, that's a legitimate thing.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I don't know how you would vet that, or that we would actually want anybody to do that, because that would be terrible.
Yeah.
I think it's just best to, at that point, have people go through the line twice, I suppose.
Yeah.
But for us, there are limits. Every time I've gone to the grocery, there have been plenty of eggs. And what I noticed this weekend is like I actually got some new eggs. And on Sunday, I was finishing up a dozen that we got a week or two ago, and opened up this batch, cracked one from this batch, and totally bright different color, because the new eggs were super fresh, because they haven't spent as long in the supply chain. They're getting from the hen to my plate a lot quicker. So it was a much brighter, more vivid color side by side. It was really quite startling to see. I was actually a little spooked out at first.
Yes. The new antibiotics or something have changed the color of the eggs. Or
yeah, honestly,
whatever.
I was like, what? Yeah, are these imported from somewhere?
Eggs.
So wait, how about for you? Is it are you seeing shortages in the store of them, literally, or are there plenty of eggs? They're just expensive.
Eggs expensive and limited. Like you can only buy a dozen at a time.
But are the shelves stocked with them fully that you've noticed? And you might not have noticed, and that's okay.
I don't know that I've set foot in a grocery store in a hot minute.
That is one of my. I love grocery shopping, or at least I used to. It's one of my favorite contributions to the household is going to the grocery.
Yeah, I don't have any problem doing it alone. But this past week we had guests in from New York. And then this week I'm solo. So like between overbuying food ahead of time and we had it all delivered. And then me solo, I've got more food than I can handle. So I like since the egg thing, and then Shell does a lot of we're doing delivery a lot more than we used to. We used to never do it. And now it's impossible to shop in the grocery store with these two kids at the same time. Like you're gonna go in and get like 4 things, and it's like I gotta
absolutely
stop.
No doubt. And as a person that likes going shopping to the grocery, I appreciate that you're not going there with your kids.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would pay a 10% markup on grocery prices if they gave me 2 hours a week where I could go and it was just adults. It would make navigating the store so much easier. Not that they're not little bundles of joy, but it's sometimes they just add some difficulties, and I feel so bad for the parents that are there with them. And like if I was able to in that position, I think I absolutely would go with the delivery option. Though I'm sure I'm sure it adds, I don't know how much, but at least got to be 10-15% like markup overall on the bill. Like so.
Yeah, there is that. That's one of the reasons why we have long avoided it. But now it's to the point where like it's either, a chunk of my couple days a week kind of, or it's just sort of untenable. It's like I'd rather like not cut into my work day.
Yeah. Or I guess if you do pickup, do you do pickup very often?
Shell will do that. I've done it a couple times, but here's our strategy. We do the pickup order, and all of that is like shelf items. And then they bring it out, we load it up in the back of the car. And then she runs in with both kids and gets produce. Because we both feel like when we have produce delivered, we end up throwing half of it away because they picked like the worst stuff on the shelf. And it doesn't mean like it arrived so bad. It's like we were planning on not eating that for 3 days, but it only made it like 8 hours before it started to stink. I don't know, something like that. So she avoids produce that way.
I understand that. That's actually why I still like to go to the grocery.
Yeah.
The convenience of being able to pick it up is awesome, but there are certain things that it's like I want to pick the produce I'm selecting and like the meat I'm selecting, like specifically, like I want to get the one that's the right, because they say average this size, like that's great. It's just me and my wife. If you get me on the larger size of the range, it's way more than we need. So,
using Instacart the other day, I put in 1 pound of onion, and they gave me maybe the smallest onion, a single onion.
They probably read it as 1 onion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there was no choice on the interface. I didn't, there was no count as an option. Yeah. Anyway,
did you weigh the onion? How much did it weigh?
I didn't. I thought about it, but
I'm sure like a big onion can't weigh more than 8 ounces, 10 ounces. A big one, right?
That's what I would think.
Well,
I've got some smaller ones.
I have some big onions in my kitchen. I'm going to go weigh them after this.
Yeah, the curiosity is burning at me inside.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, you know what? They actually did give me the right amount. I just totally misinterpreted what that amount meant. That's happened to me a couple times on pickup orders. I checked the one that it looked like the creamer we normally buy. I didn't realize it was the 2 ounce version of it because I didn't. You sold it in 2 ounce sizes because that's insane. But here we are. With, I guess I'm going back to the grocery for more creamer for my wife.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, there's that, or the opposite problem of now we have a 2-year supply of this thing that we rarely buy.
Yes.
I got this. Like, have you used this? Like, I think it's called dark soy sauce. Like, and it's super thick, a little bit sugary. ABC, I think is the brand.
Yes, I've had that exact brand. It's called Key. Is it Key Cat Manus?
Something like, yeah. If you're not on it, you're close. Anyhow, I was like, I couldn't find it listed in the grocery store. I wasn't going to drive there and wander around the aisles and waste a whole bunch of time trying to find this one little bottle of thing. And so I went to Amazon and bought a bottle, and there it is. The thing is like it's like a foot tall. It's going to take a while to go through that one.
Pad CU. It's great for Pad CU if you like that. What else do I use it for?
Some Indonesian dish that we were making.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I was gonna say Thai. I've seen it in Thai and Malaysian cooking quite a bit. I have a couple of cookbooks around those cultures that I enjoy, and that would be where I would be spending a lot of time. I recently purchased a new wok. I'm very excited about for some reason. We had an old wok that we used like twice because it sucked for 10 years, and I finally got a nice carbon steel wok.
Where'd you get it from?
Amazon, of course. Where else do you revealed preferences, Dan?
But you're happy with it?
So far, I've used it. We typically do like one stir fry a week of like a teriyaki. It's either tofu or chicken tender as the protein, depending upon what we're feeling. And like when you're stir frying like chicken tenders or even like just white meat chicken, it tends to stick to a lot of surfaces very easily. Not a problem in this one so far. It doesn't stick because of the way it's kind of seasoned a little bit like a cast iron skillet, and then like the way you actually, if you use it right, you're moving everything, and it basically sears the outside so quickly it doesn't have a chance for the proteins to create a layer that bond, adhere. There's also some like processes you can do to like help that, but so far haven't had a problem.
Cool, I like to hear it.
Yeah. But yeah, it is Key Cat Manus. I recommend it for anybody who's never tried it. It's it's like sugary soy sauce.
Yeah, it adds a lot of flavor. It's good.
Yeah, not that anybody needs more sugar in their diet, but damn, it's good.
I think people might be surprised at how much sugar is in some of those dishes.
Well, I mean, Panda Express might just call every dish sugar chicken. It's just, how can we differently apply this sugar to this fried food in a lot of ways.
I was listening. Have you listened to Noah Smith of No Opinion when he appears with Eric Tornberg? What's their podcast
I have
called?
Not.
It's good.
I'm aware of No Opinion.
Yeah.
But I've not dug deeper on that.
It's good if you're like into the wonky side of No Opinion and maybe like don't want to dedicate reading all of his articles, and then you can kind of like go and listen to them.
Okay.
Rhapsody about whatever. Anyway, one of his more recent episodes, I thought said something very funny, which was, it was around the topic of like Chinese austerity, the differentiation between the generations that exist there, and the attitudes that they harbor generally. And how like the older generation is like still austere by choice, right? Like they don't need a lot of calories. They don't need a lot. Like they've just spent their whole lives basically like, I didn't die in a famine, and that's great. And everything else is just like upstream from there. And then he went on this whole sidebar about like, have you ever taken people from China to Panda Express? Like you know, all the white people in America are like, oh, don't take the Chinese people to Panda Express because that's not authentic Chinese food. But then the older Chinese people are like, holy cow, this is awesome. Amazing calories. I don't know. My body doesn't know what to do with it. I'm butchering it, but it was a funny little tirade that he went on.
That's fun. I'll have to check that out. Send me a link. I
don't even know if that's worth like leaving it.
That's fine. There's stuff that goes on the cutting room floor every week, Dan. I think I got a good 15 minutes out of the last episode. So
nice.
Yeah, I mean, most of it's me babbling on about bullshit too long. So you're much tighter.
I did. That's what I just did there.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, anything else you want to touch on here this evening?
Well, you added something to the notes. Do you want to touch that, or you want to leave it?
So I'm also reading Prometheus Rising on Dan's recommendation.
Oh, yes.
And so there was one thing I added about that, finding a quarter, which is, it's funny. So in this book, Prometheus Rising, the author, who now all of a sudden I'm blanking on the name.
Robert Anton Wilson.
Thank you, Dan. Gives us some. He talks about these different mental processes that go on within your brain, and some ways to kind of influence the outcomes of your life by influencing your mental processes. For lack of a better description, being kind of early in the book.
Yeah.
And one of them, he's basically giving you exercise to envision finding something. He specifically uses a quarter, but encourages you to use come up with other ideas. I was looking for a new song last night, and the universe brought one to me. So I put a note in there about I found a quarter because it was a song I hadn't heard by Motion City Soundtrack called "The Future Freaks Me Out," and it struck me in the right way last night.
How did it strike you?
I don't know. I was in the right mood, and I was looking for something that, I need to re-listen to it again, honestly, and see if it still strikes me, and I'll come back to you on that, and see if it's truly something that stuck, or if it was just in the moment, the particular vibe and beat were doing it for me. It's hard to say.
How does it make you feel about these, like both reality tunnels / your ability to hack your own future?
I'm skeptical because also the algorithm does give me something new once in a while, but it doesn't happen as frequently as I would like, I'll say. I don't know. I was thinking about this today. So in the example of I found a quarter, or like to imagine yourself finding a quarter, and like you're supposed to envision vividly the quarter in your mind, and imagine like coming across it on the street, and imagine what it's like to pick it up, and like envision the whole thing, right? To like the premise being that you're kind of manifesting, I suppose.
Yeah.
Am I summing that up somewhat accurately?
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Okay. So he asked you to do the exercise in a couple of different ways. One, with you imagine it, and then when you find the quarter, make a note of it, and then think about, well, did I manifest that, or was that random luck? And then he says, think about specifically about the option of having been manifested, and start looking for another quarter. Did you find it quicker? Question mark. With the implication being that you should expect to find it quicker, and that you can kind of manifest these things, the outcomes, in a way. Is that a fair statement on the read of that?
I think that's fair, and that fits along with the Goddard guy that I was telling you about too.
Yeah. So here's my skeptical question.
Okay.
If I can make that work with a quarter, why am I not doing it with a $100 bill?
You should be doing it with a $100 bill.
Yeah.
I think you see what there's two reasons. One, the quarter is more likely something that you'll be able to find.
Yes.
Because I would think he's writing it in such a way that he's, one, a little cheeky, and two, trying to give an example, because far too many people are going to take him completely literally and prescriptively, and then use his exact example of the quarter, rather than saying like, I want to be living in an abundant life, a life of abundant health, wealth, and general well-being, and I am that person. I am living in a gracious world, and that is probably the more apt way to hack your future. It isn't the literal quarter. It's more of what you believe to be true, then very strangely actually manifesting in front of you. Because think about how many interactions you have with other human beings, and if you come into that a bit mopey and depressed, you also can bring that energy into that space and affect the direction that interaction went in. Or you approach this interaction with your chest held high, and you're confident and happy and inclusive. You probably are going to have a very different interaction than the prior setup, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think, your read is the way I read it earnestly. I was just trying to think skeptically about it. And
I have more on that though. You ready?
okay.
I
Yes.
just
Go on.
started. I'm in chapter 2. I don't know. Again, the universe is talking to me right now, so I'm just listening. The book is called The Expectation Effect,
Okay.
and by David Robson. How your mindset can change the world. It's all data-driven examples of this very thing. So chapter 2 I'm listening to, it's like all placebo effect basically. And then chapter 1 is more like an introduction to like where we're going in this book. So let it be said that I'm not very far in this book, but just listening to the intro in chapter 1, I'm like, oh, this is probably the book people should listen to before Prometheus Rising in order to like inoculate them to the possibilities of hacking yourself. And then once you realize or accept your rational mind has accepted that there is some possibility here, as strange as it is and impossible to completely nail down, then read Prometheus Rising and realize the level with which you could play this game.
Okay. So I'm like a third of the way through Prometheus Rising. What should I do?
I think you can continue reading Prometheus Rising. I don't know that you need sold.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Oh, I see what. Yeah, you're right. I don't. But for the right person, it's a good stepping on point.
I think there's lots of high horsepower, high agency people that like are super rational and like would possibly reject Prometheus Rising or something like that. And they're like, what I wonder, this is a question: are they holding themselves back? Like they've just got this ability to like rock and roll through the world within the confines of maybe like what they're good at, but then they hold themselves back personally because they just don't believe things and they don't believe in themselves to the level that they could. And then maybe a combination of books like this, one for the rational mind to get you in, and then one for the more spiritual mind to blow you up. Could that advance life for some people? I'm way out over my skis, but I think it's like a real question.
I think it's a question worth asking. When you say advanced life, like, do you have anything particular in mind when you say that, or
whatever their priorities are? I mean, for some people that means being rich. For some people that means being completely free. Some people, it's like everyone's kind of got their like the thing that they're optimizing toward. But then listen to the people around you. Someone who wishes that they had, every weekend was a 3-day weekend or something like that. But that's impossible because of, work.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you could work for yourself and you could, maybe make a little bit less money and work that 4-day week or something, right? Like, or there's lots of places that do 410s. I think there's ways to, I don't know. There's like, I think about the way I talked to myself for many years, the way I talked about my life for many years. And now I feel like I'm not completely on the other side yet, but I'm getting a taste for what it means to be on the other side. And I want more people to realize that they've got the power.
Like that. Yeah. We've talked a couple of times about your schedule and your flexibility this evening. And that's something that I think it's funny that we're circling around back to it here, now later in the episode. I think that is something that I myself find envious about the way your life does function, with how flexible your time can be, and that you have set such particular limits on how you spend time in certain ways. And it's for me, I'm like, man, I feel like I am envious that you're able to do it, or envious that that it's working out for you. And like, also, I don't know that my brain can work like that. Like, I don't.
Wait, what do you mean your brain doesn't work like that?
I don't.
The self-discipline is high.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not in Palm Springs this week.
Yeah. It's not just that, but then like
I disappointed my family by saying no and choosing work.
Yeah.
But I have to. But what that also means is there's lots of days where like I work 6 hours or something because that's just how it worked. Because I had an appointment that that my son couldn't really didn't need to be there, he would have been a huge distraction, right? So then I watch one kid, Shell watches the other, and then we're in separate places, but that is like my morning on a weekday because that's just how it worked, right? Yeah. I didn't have to call in to anyone to check and see if that's okay or...
Yeah. Exactly. Like the ability to be able to do that and not have to justify it to somebody else, or being able to just actually do it without fear of reprisal is amazing.
It is. Right? Yeah. I fought hard for it. I'm trying to keep
it. That is, I know you fought hard for it. Obviously, like everything, the hours we talked also about, working 60-hour weeks in New York, that's, or not 60-hour weeks. It's probably longer than that.
Yeah, longer.
If you had to work Saturdays, which I'm sure we came into play. Yeah. You clearly put in the time and the grit to get where you are. It's admirable.
Thanks. I think what's more, or what I would want to celebrate more, is the getting out. I think you kind of got to go through the gauntlet if you're not coming for money. But the getting out is actually maybe even more difficult, because once you're in, that's the water you swim in, and you kind of get like, it's pretty nice. I mean, if you've learned how to climb the ladder and are doing okay, it's not bad water. Your schedule kind of sucks, and there's someone else telling you what to do, but the paycheck shows up every week, and it's not bad, right? Yeah. Leaving that is a real trick, and most people don't.
Honestly, thinking about it freaks me out. Like I've thought about that more in recent years, and there's a lot to be said for the security that 26 times a year that deposit hitting your bank, there's a lot to be said for it. I have some other friends other than you that are more have a lot more variance in their pay. They're like working law or things where they might have to close a case to get paid. It's lumpier, and it seems to add, in some cases, seems like it can add a lot of stress, and it makes the thought of leaving behind that repeatable, consistent, reliable, paycheck. It makes it daunting. I think.
Do you still want to do it?
Some days.
Good answer.
Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes I'm like, this isn't so bad. But then other times I'm like, no, you gotta challenge yourself and really try to do something. And I think
wait, who are you supposed to be doing that for?
I mean, myself, right? I don't know. Like, I mean, and it's not who I'm supposed to be doing it for, but it's why am I doing it for myself? Yeah. I think is what I question. Is it like an ego thing? Is it a earnest desire to have that experience? Is it, I'm still kind of working through what's driving the desire, I think, in my head. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think selling yourself, like actually getting yourself to do it, you have to understand that otherwise, if you can make sure that you're doing it for yourself, but then you're also doing it for the right reasons for yourself, and not just like you're trying to.
Okay, so I'm going to backpedal you just a little bit. I think you're familiar with a VC guy named Josh Wolf, and he has this thing where he's like chips on shoulders get put chips in pockets.
Yes,
and it's like these people who have something to prove, and I think a lot of people would say that that's like negative energy, and you're not supposed to feed on negative energy in order to go where you need to go. I would say that energy, well used, that does not destroy you, is appropriate. I think the negative energy can only be used for so long, though. So you and I are both at a different stage of life. He's mainly referring to like 22-year-olds.
That's true.
You and I think, have to be approaching this with a more mature lens and probably a longer term time horizon, even though they have more runway. It's just going to be more spiky and volatile probably in those younger years. So I don't know. I would say picking the reasons you're doing it would be of the utmost importance. And And it can be really simple. I don't think you need to overthink it. It could very much just mean I want more flexibility in my life.
See,
Because once you get into it, keeping that flexibility is really hard. You'd be surprised at how much you go into a thing with a particular goal, and then it's all very overwhelming, and you start giving up the very goals you set out to achieve in order to just like stay alive.
That makes so much sense. And like I've seen that, and that I can see that reflected in our discussions around some of the things that have gone well and some of the things that have been harder for you over the last year. Yeah. It's clear that like you saying that I have these limits on how I spend my time with certain aspects of the businesses I work with. I would be like, man, I would be tempted to just go and be like, screw it, I'm just going to go ahead and spend 80 hours on this week and just like get too into it. If that makes sense. I feel
that's my week this week. I'm being deliberate with it.
Yeah, sometimes having the compartmentalization of punching out is good for my mental health at times, because sometimes if I bring my laptop home and I work late, it'll be midnight, and I'm like, shit, did I really need to work on this till midnight, or yes. Was it just because
I gotta leave my house at 7?
Yeah. So I think in some ways maybe that compartmentalization is a little healthy for me. But I think the reason like that I keep coming back to is why do I want to do it is because I want to do it. I want to try it. I want to experience it. And is that the right reason? Or is it that I really want more flexibility, or what kind of flexibility would I expect to have, and what would I do with it? And I'm trying to understand what that picture looks like in my head, I suppose. Yeah, I still want to try it at some point. I just don't know.
It's clearly there's an itch there that needs to get.
Yeah, I just got to find the right setup where I just don't notice that my paycheck changes, and it just magically starts, just smooth transition.
Man, I wish.
No, I know. Yeah, I wish.
One day. I don't know. These side projects / side hustles, there's something to them. Yeah, you make an extra like $1,000 a month, and then it's like it's a play money, or it's like you put it straight in the market. It's like $12,000 a year in the market. That's pretty. I don't know. It's kind of exciting to think about these extra cash flows that make you like more like anti-fragile, right? Like something goes sideways at work, and it's like could you be better at your day job because you created a thing that makes you $5,000 a month? I would argue yes, because then you feel much more invincible, and you're probably you already know you're good at these things. And then if you were to take the stress away from like, can I pay my mortgage tomorrow out of the equation, I think you'd be even more effective employee. Right. And I think about that in terms of my businesses a lot. It's like how, like the burden that I have is such that I sometimes think I am underperforming because of that burden. It's like I'm doing it to myself in some way. Right.
That's insightful. I can see that. I can see doing that to myself at times, for sure. It's that self. Yeah, you're putting it on yourself. But how do you give yourself the permission to take it off yourself?
Make more money is always my answer.
Yeah.
Because if I can create more cushion, then I will have relieved that valve. That's all. It's not about like having more. It's just like cushion.
Yeah, there's a certain point at which then that I guess it's a certain point of stability where you feel like you'd be good, but would you? I guess is also what I wonder.
Well, that's when the psychology of money starts kicking in, right? It's like, I say this, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, everything ran away from you, and you're back. You're back where you tried to run away from.
Exactly. Did you get creep in other things that then eats away at the margin there? Then you once you're there, you build up a little something else, and then it's like, oh well, now I can't afford to lose this either. Like I once I have it, I can't afford to lose it, or don't want to give it up. So you always have that sort of Damocles hanging over your head in a way, because it's what we do as humans. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna try to inoculate myself.
Yeah,
I don't know how that works, but I'm gonna try.
No, I think it's honestly, I think just having multiple streams of income, like if you're able to do that, is generally, it's like diversifying your investment portfolio, right?
Yes.
So if NVIDIA stock takes a huge 30% haircut. If you're all in NVIDIA, that really hurts a lot. But if you're only 5% in NVIDIA, it's not so bad. So, again, like, if you have multiple streams of income, then you're much more anti-fragile is the perfect analogy there. Good. It's a great way to think about it. And if those of you listening aren't sure what that means, check out the book Anti-Fragile by Nicholas Nassim Taleb. It's a reasonably good read, though he is kind of a prick on Twitter.
Yes, indeed he is.
But his books are good. I enjoy his books.
Yeah, I was gonna say good concepts in there. Fooled by Randomness was which one would you rank most important to read? Not number one, but most important to read. Or which concept
Black
is
Swan
the most
is not
important?
it.
Yeah,
it's either Anti-Fragile or Fooled by Randomness. And
yeah, okay, we're on the same page then.
I think it kind of probably a toss up on how I'm feeling about things that day. Probably Fooled by Randomness.
Interesting. I feel like Fooled by Randomness is like, if you prescribe Fooled by Randomness, it's almost like a defensive position versus Anti-Fragile. I'm on the offensive. Therefore I put Anti-Fragile first because I'd rather go out and do rather than like protect from I don't know. Does that make sense at all?
Yes, it does. I was also thinking of it because some of Anti-Fragile to me felt there was more intuitive things in there where I was like, oh, he put words to things I already felt and knew. Whereas Fooled by Randomness, well,
you're smart.
I don't know. Yeah,
I think there's some people that
that's fair. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I felt like I got more out of Fooled by Randomness. How's that? So that's why I ranked it that way.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, fair.
But I think your assessment of the defensive versus offensive stance between the two books is also a valid point.
Anyway, I think that like if in the I don't know 25 books that I would prescribe to a young 20 something, I'd be like both of those probably.
I was thinking about this the other day. I was just kind of putting together a list of like all the things I've read in really just the last like 5 years, and I was looking through. I'm like, man, there's a lot of these that I would actually recommend to people. Maybe we should, on the website I'm building, go ahead and build a Sean and Dan's library page.
I like
and
that.
we can I don't know, figure out some way to display that content of what we think is worthwhile.
And like, yeah, exactly. The last, like I don't know, 3 bullets on why.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'll figure out how to build us something that we can.
You know where I got Prometheus Rising from, right?
No, you probably told me, and it bounced right off my ears.
Jim O'Shaughnessy. He has like the what is it? The OSV library now. And so I was floating around that website, and that's how I found the book. I was going through and seeing which ones I hadn't read, and then of those which seemed, I think I was in a frisky mood, let's say, and like I wasn't looking for more confirmation, but I didn't want to know something I already knew. I wanted something completely new, and that book, I was like, this is not in my canon.
Okay, I have not heard. Or I've heard about it, but I haven't actually checked out the O'Shaughnessy Ventures library. I think it's O'Shaughnessy Ventures.
Yeah, something like that. I think, yeah, OSV.
Yeah, but like here in his late career, that's definitely what he's been pushing. Is not pushing, but like championing, I think is probably the right word. Championing, sharing of knowledge and fringe ideas and bringing some things into the mainstream. So it makes sense. It's a good place to find some content.
That's what I love about him. Like he's a quant investor. So it's just like, no, we don't believe in vibes. We just want numbers. Here are the calculations. Here's how we invest. And then he's also like, one of my top books is Prometheus Rising. And I'm like, what the?
Well,
I love him for it because he's all over the map.
Yeah.
And curious.
It is. Well, let's leave it off on that note with a good recommendation of checking out. What was the name of the book again, Dan?
Oh, wait, which one?
No, Prometheus Rising. Yeah, you should go check out Prometheus Rising. And then you recommended one that was a precursor to that. That if you haven't checked out Prometheus Rising yet, check it out.
Yeah, The Expectation Effect by David Robson.
Okay.
More data, the data-driven side to the vision casting.
Okay.
Or something.
I will add that to my I will add that to my queue and check it out in the short term, I'm sure. Other than that, Dan, it's been fun talking to you this evening.
Likewise.
Have a great rest of your day, everybody in the listening and viewing world. Thanks for tuning in, as always, to another episode of Unqualified Advice.
Thank you. See you.